Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining the Korea Green Innovation Days breakout session with the World Bank's Transport Global Practice teams on empowering leaders in urban transport planning and green transformation of mobility in Greater Cairo. My name is Hyung-gun Wang. I'm the program manager of the Korea Green Growth Trust Fund. All KGID breakout sessions, including this one with the Transport GP, will be recorded and posted in our KGTF website, also KGTF YouTube channels. So the banker teams who are interested in this session but cannot join live can consult the recording and materials when they are preparing this year's KGTF call for proposals. This session will discuss updates from two KGTF funded programs focusing on green, resilient, and inclusive urban mobility, naming the post-COVID modernization of the Leaders in Urban Transport Planning Program, LUTP, and the Great Cairo Mobility Assessment and Public Transport Improvement Study, called BAPTIS, for green transformation of mobility in urban Egypt, and also explore potential collaborations with the Korea Transport Institute, KOTI, to further knowledge exchange on Korea's mobility and planning management experience with the policymakers in Cairo. Let's have a quick round of introductions of our designated presenters and discussant. You may simply unmute your mic, give your name and affiliation. Let's start from the bank team. Who wants to go first? Maybe two presenters, you may give your name and affiliation, and also bank discussant, Georgie and Arturo. Okay, Joanna, over to you. You go first.
Sure, thank you so much. My name is Joanna Moody, and I am a research program manager for the Leaders in Urban Transport Planning, LUTP program, and a long-term consultant with the Global Knowledge Unit for Transport at the bank.
Thank you, Joanna. And then Daito?
Yes, good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Nobuhiko Daito, or I go by with Daito, and I'm a transport specialist based in Washington. I have been supporting the Egypt transport program of the World Bank past several years, and it's a pleasure to be able to present the update from the transport engagement from Egypt supported by KGGTF. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Daito. Yes. And then maybe Georgie and Arturo.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm George Darido. I'm a lead urban transport specialist and the global lead for urban mobility at the World Bank in the Global Transport Unit. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. And my friend Arturo, over to you.
Hello, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Good night. I'm Arturo. I have two family names, Ardila Gomez, lead transport economist, now emphasizing MENA region at the World Bank, including Egypt. Over.
Thank you, Arturo. Let's go to the KOTI. Can you just introduce yourself, name and affiliation? Thank you.
From me, my name is Hee-Chul Shin, Chief Director of the Korea Transport Institute. I'm in charge of Global Center for Global Transport Cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Thomas Jin. Nice to meet you, Darido, Mr. Darido, Georgie. So 3 years ago, I met with him in 2019 LTP program in Seoul. Anyway, nice to meet you. And I'm working with Dr. Shin. Also, I'm research fellow in the KOTI. Nice to meet you. Bye.
Thank you, Thomas. And then Jisoo.
Yes, hello, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I'm Jisoo. I'm also from KOTI, and I'm working with Mr. Shin and Mr. Jin, and I'm in charge of international cooperation such as capacity building programs or international seminars. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's start. The running order is we'll have two opening presentations by the bank teams of the UNS Moody, and then Nobuhiko Daito. After presentations, we will have the panel discussion and then open the floor for the Q&As. Also, please, for the audience, please post your questions or suggestions in your chat box at any time. We will address them during the session. So let's have two opening presentations. Joanna, you want to go first?
Sure, yeah, let me
you.
just share my screen here. And I'm hoping everyone is seeing the full screen. Okay.
Yeah, full screen. Please proceed. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So I've already had the pleasure of introducing myself. And today I'm really excited to talk about launching a post-COVID LUTP program and all of the new developments that are happening with leaders in urban transport planning, thanks to the kind support of the Korea Green Growth Trust Fund. So first, just a very quick background on what is Leaders in Urban Transport Planning. We are a program that provides interactive training workshops, capacity building, through which city transport leaders, we work specifically with policymakers and practitioners in developing cities, and we help them to gain the skills needed to identify, prepare, and implement holistic solutions to complex urban transport issues. And we maintain a curriculum of self-learning materials as well as case studies on sustainable urban transport planning issues. And that curriculum is available in English, Spanish, French, Russian, and Arabic, although we are looking to expand that language list as well. And rather than a platform to disseminate best practices, Leaders in Urban Transport Planning is a program that helps professionals ask the right questions and to assess the accessibility needs and challenges facing their own cities and balance different perspectives from different types of users, and then develop solutions that are best fit for their local circumstances. And so that means that we operate our program with a number of principles in mind. The first being that local capacity building needs to focus on the unique and specific challenges of the local context in developing cities, that no one solution fits all cities or all circumstances because the circumstances are different. A good understanding of institutions, governance, political economy, and cultural barriers to changing behavior are needed to address sustainable urban transport planning. Adults, particularly practitioners, learn best by participatory problem solving and hands-on learning, hence our interactive workshop format, and that collaborative learning and sharing knowledge among cities in a peer-to-peer learning environment is extremely important. And so the networking aspect of Leaders in Urban Transport Planning is extremely valuable in addition to the materials that we provide. And just to give a sense of our audience and sort of the impact that this program has already had, the Leaders in Urban Transport Planning program works again specifically with policymakers. Since its inception in 2011, the LUTP program has trained a total of 2,151 practitioners from 94 countries through 65 different workshops. And so the clear primary audience is the policymakers that we work with for capacity building, but there's also a value for World Bank regional teams, which interact with us and work with us as LUTP as a tool to support policy dialogue, operations, and business development in the cities on the ground. And in 2017, LUTP was recognized by the World Bank's Independent Evaluation Group as one of the best examples of global engagement providing client capacity building, in this case around urban transport. And just to provide a snapshot of those 65 workshops that have been hosted, this is just a map of the locations of LUTP sessions from its inception in 2011 through the start of 2020. And you can see that we have a number of locations, including Seoul and Singapore, that host workshops with us pretty much every year, once a year, for different audiences. And this is a really valuable partnership that we continue to foster. The global outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic posed a challenge for the Leaders in Urban Transport Planning workshop as a program that convenes many individuals in a room in person that often involves international travel. As you can imagine, most of those sessions halted during the COVID pandemic. But the LUTP team used this time when they weren't organizing sessions to turn their attention to fundraising and thinking about the long-term financial sustainability of the program and a major modernization of the program's curriculum, which, as I said, most of that material had been started in 2011. And so now a decade on, we were very fortunate to receive some money from the Mobility and Logistics Trust Fund, a multi-donor trust fund from the World Bank, and then the Korea Green Growth Trust Fund, which has kindly convened us all here today. And to give a snapshot of some of the curriculum development work that we've been doing, we have a set of self-study modules or reading materials on key topics of urban transport planning. Using the Mobility and Logistics Trust Fund, we were able to update our module on road safety and update our module on transport and climate change with the new dialogues coming out of COP26. And then we also developed with our colleagues, our gender specialist colleagues, a new module on gender and transport. And then with Korea Green Growth Trust Fund, we expanded our materials significantly more, adding 3 new learning modules, one on technology-enabled urban mobility services and mobility as a service. So looking at new trends like ride-hailing, e-hailing of moto taxis and how that is changing the urban mobility landscape of developing countries. A second on responses of public transit systems to COVID-19 and the impacts of the pandemic on demand as well as the supply side of public transit. And then a module on e-mobility, but with a specific focus on the electrification of buses and 2- and 3-wheelers. We've had the benefit of developing this module in parallel to a flagship study on e-mobility being conducted by the Transport Global Knowledge Unit. And so we can reflect a lot of that emerging knowledge and new positioning around that topic within the bank directly into this module. We also developed 2 new case studies highlighting the experience of Seoul, South Korea in ways that can translate to developing countries and where our clients can learn from the interventions that Seoul has piloted. Worked very closely with the Seoul Metropolitan Government as well as the Korea Transport Institute to develop these case studies, and we had members from both of those organizations as peer reviewers and co-authors throughout this process. And so the first case study is on public and active transportation planning for resilience and health. And this case study really looks at how the pre-pandemic vision for a people-centric urban transport system in Seoul helped to create resilience even before and in anticipation of the COVID-19 pandemic, but then how additional lessons learned from the impacts of COVID-19 created new opportunities to accelerate some of the public transit and active mobility planning that was being pursued. The second case study was on smart cities and intelligent sustainable transportation systems. This focused on the development of Seoul's Transport Operations and Information Services System, or TOPIS, which is an integrated traffic center that plans, constructs, and operates Seoul's intelligent transportation system. TOPIS is a site that when we did in-person LUTPs in Seoul over the years, has often been of significant interest for site visits from some of our participants. And so we were really excited to be able to provide a new case study that goes a little bit more in depth into the institutions, processes, and policies that are needed to support the continued evolution of TOPIS and how that data and information from TOPIS improves policymaking and planning in the city of Seoul. In preparation for relaunching the program as travel restrictions have subsided, we have relaunched with a brand new logo and website. So we've really updated and refreshed our visual identity, and we're very excited to have a much more accessible, searchable platform for both our alumni and potential partners to find us online. And so this is just a screenshot of the website, but we encourage you to flip through it. And one of the things that we will be doing over the summer months is actually adding every single one of our curriculum materials publicly up on our website so that it can be accessed in each of the languages for which we have it available. We're also well into the process of planning and about to deliver our first LUTP workshop since COVID-19. And we're being flexible given the ongoing COVID situation. So in Turkey at the end of May, we are launching a workshop virtually. We're actually going to have participants from at least 6 municipalities in Turkey. And if I had practiced their names, I would read them out specifically. But I'm afraid I will just mispronounce them completely. But we have participants from 6 metropolitan areas, municipalities in Turkey that will each be joining us virtually. And then in Haiti, we have a planned workshop that will be hybrid. And so while we will have some of our instructors joining virtually as we are on Zoom, our participants will actually be gathering in Port-au-Prince in a conference center so that we can have a little bit more of that networking aspects, and we will be doing most of the activities in person. In addition, the Korea Green Growth Trust Fund has helped us to think more about how we can engage in the digital environment given the ongoing COVID situation. And so we have been developing a free, publicly accessible, self-paced e-learning course that will be hosted by the World Bank's Online Learning Campus, or OLC. And so we've been collaborating with them throughout this process to develop this e-learning course. It will provide foundational knowledge on urban transport planning structured around the Sustainable Development Goals. And the goals for this e-learning digital platform are to complement, not replace, the in-person LUTP instruction that we already have been running for a decade, to reach a broader and more diverse audience by providing multi-language training that is affordable because it will be free to access, time efficient, and has a low environmental impact by reducing the need to travel. And so we really hope that this is an opportunity to build interest and foundational knowledge beyond the tailored workshops that we do in each local context. And it will allow us to continue this capacity building and learning during the COVID-19 pandemic or any other such event that might impact the delivery of in-person workshops. And then we have a number of other upcoming and very exciting developments. The first is very hot off the presses. Just this past month, in collaboration with the Africa Transport Policy Program, we received some funding from the World Bank Group's Partnership Fund for the Sustainable Development Goals to launch a Sub-Saharan Africa Alumni Engagement and Mentorship Program. So this will allow us to translate first the LUTP curriculum into Portuguese for Lusophone-speaking Africa. It will co-finance 3 workshops in Africa in the summer and fall of 2022, in Maputo and Luanda for Lusophone Africa, Kumasi and Accra, Ghana for Anglophone, and then also secondary cities in Tunisia for Francophone. And it will also include a mentorship program and alumni engagement platform to follow up on the initial workshops and help cities actually pursue small urban transport planning projects in conjunction with LUTP instructors and mentors. And then we also are working on planning in very early stages workshops in the winter of 2022 or late fall, one hopefully in Seoul, working with the Korea Transport Institute And then potentially another one in Indonesia where they have a large urban mobility engagement upcoming that has just gone to the board. And so we're really excited to give them some advice and work with them on the capacity building component of that large program. And so I want to pause there because I really want to make sure there's time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Excellent presentation. Also, your future plan for this year is great. Before proceeding, Daito's question, let's collect.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, so again, my name is Daito, and it's a pleasure being able to share with you some updates from the Egypt Transport Engagement as supported by Korean Green Growth Trust Fund, which focuses on green growth and digital transformation. The team is implementing with the support from the KGIDF this study called the Greater Cairo Mobility Assessment and Public Transport Improvement Study, MAPTIS, and it's well in progress. We studied, we commenced the study the very end of 2020, and after a very extensive data collection, model development, and consultation and other processes, we are really getting closer to completion of the study. So this is a great opportunity to share updates and seek for any views and suggestions for potential collaborations into the future. But before jumping into the content of the study itself, just wanted to give a background, a high-level background of what's going on in Egypt, which is a very dynamic space. So green growth and sustainable transport have been a very important topic for Egyptian authorities, and it poses a number of challenges, development challenges. So one is the carbon emission, carbon footprint of our transport sector is really accelerating. Right now, transport constitutes some 17% carbon footprint in the overall economy, and the fastest growing. And it is projected to grow by 145% until 2050. And this is a major concern. This past several years, the government has been really focusing on tackling the issue of air pollution in large cities and mobile sources, meaning motor vehicles from the transport sector is one of the three largest sources of air pollution, such as PM 2.5, PM10, and so on and so forth in cities like Greater Cairo. Really, the government has been investing a lot of making a lot of investment in a transport infrastructure. However, the motorization is really accelerating, and the weak governance of loosely regulated informal operators of public transport services really predominant on the streets, not only in Cairo but really across the nation. And these really dwarf the competitiveness of formal public transport operators, such as buses. So there's a significant need to improve, really focusing on public transport sector. Egypt has been really ambitious in making improvements in this sector. There's a very ambitious investment program of about $64 billion US program in sustainable transport infrastructure in Egypt. These includes of course high quality highway networks, Cairo Metro Line number 3 extension, monorail connecting the downtown of Cairo and other areas with the new administrative capital, which is under development. The World Bank has been supporting the modernization effort of Egyptian National Railways, ENR, with modern signaling systems, and the Korean Exim Bank is also supporting some other investment of ENR, along with some other projects too. There's a major initiative underway along with the development of Cairo Ring Road to build a bus rapid transit or BRT. And high-speed rail, which is a very ambitious project with a partnership with private entities. to connect cities in Egypt with the high-speed rail network. Electric mobility is another ambitious program that the government is implementing currently in partnerships with the international collaborators. Egypt is trying to become a regional hub in manufacturing electric vehicles, notably electric buses. And there has been a number of pilot projects to operate a demonstration electric bus fleet in cities like Cairo, Alexandria, and so on and so forth. These are really coming to this Egypt's ambition to become regional hub, especially now that Egypt is going to be the host of COP27, which happens in November 2022. So it is on the ground. The changes that are being made are really felt, and so that's the context of this MAPTIS study. So really the objective of the study is to really support the government authorities. The massive investment that I mentioned earlier was really underpinned by a national transport master plan that was developed about a decade ago, and there has been a lot of changes over the past several years, both technology-wise, and the economy's changed. Everything's changed now, so there's a serious need for updating the understanding of mobility trends in Greater Cairo, and to do a comprehensive reassessment of what's going on and what needs to be done. So that's the primary focus of the MAPTIS study. And the objectives are really to assess the mobility needs of the Greater Cairo region, identify opportunities to intervene, make improvement in sustainable transport, really to support Egypt's sustainable development goals, Vision 2030, and advise authorities on solutions to streamline transport data collection, management, and use, so that really informed decisions becoming possible in the transport sector. And this whole study is being supported by, as I mentioned, KGID, and also UK Strategic Partnership Trust Fund with Egypt. So I just want to highlight a couple points of this MAPTIS study. It is unique due to the unique conditions of Egypt in terms of data availability and the resources that are available, and the interest of the client. MAPTIS has a heavy emphasis on using smart data techniques and really focus on engaging with the users, passengers, in assessing the mobility needs of a Greater Cairo region. And the new techniques that are used include digital data collection of public transport operations. Really, it's difficult to really understand to what extent the public transport services are supplied on the streets. GPS-based vehicle speed flow data of street network performances. GTF-enabled OD surveys of riders, accessibility modeling, and open land use data, and so on and so forth. These are really effort to have an innovative approach to understand the mobility trends in Greater Cairo, and to identify needed improvements. So MAPTIS developed a proportionate and strategic travel demand model in Greater Cairo region by incorporating a range of innovative data. The MAPTIS study has a strong emphasis on use and management of innovative data for effective sector governance, and identifying opportunities to address gender accessibility gaps. So you will see a bit of these important topics in the following slides. But throughout the study, the bank team has ensured that this whole study is based on robust consultation with the stakeholders in developing principles to identify public transport improvement opportunities. So I just want to provide a very a high level highlight of what we found. So the mobility trends in Greater Cairo, that demand is really increasing, and that's particularly driven by the new developments in outer suburban communities, including the new administrative capital, which is quite far from downtown Cairo, but in the overall metro region. And the public transport systems are overcrowded, and the roads are very highly congested, but the accessibility at the local level within the metropolitan region is very low. And particularly young people, women, and those with challenges have difficulty accessing opportunities even within the region beyond what they're able to access on foot or immediately available public transport services. So overall, the high level is that sustainable transport is experiencing stagnating investment, and really the weak governance and the regulatory framework is the major hurdle for making improvements despite all the investments going on. So, so the study, based on the consultations, found a number of entry points to improve mobility in Greater Cairo. So some of the opportunities include really streamlining institutional arrangement and promote collaborations within and among agencies and authorities, ministries. And there's a serious need to integrate land use and the transport services systems. And there's a big opportunities to leverage innovative technologies like data and ITS that are becoming available that could be utilized in making investment decisions and improve operational level traffic management. Network planning, linking bus services with service quality, and so on and so forth are, but a few of these identified opportunities aspects to improve. So with that, we conducted a consultation with the stakeholders on the ground, and a number of priorities or principles to identify and prioritize investment opportunities were raised. But the key interest, there's a keen interest in across the board, really identifying and selecting investment projects that are deliverable. So that's the single most important aspect. People want to see changes being made. So so based on that, the study identified a number of investment opportunities, actually 11 concrete proposals that currently we are finalizing the prioritization and proceed with the further preparation of these investment opportunities. These are under three categories. One is regulatory and institutional reforms. Second one is data and ITS management to improve transport operations and investment decision makings. And third, strategic investment for sustainable transport. And I'd like to go over just several of these investment opportunities to give you a sense of what's really the kind of need that MAPTIS is really advancing. So one is bus sector reform pilot corridor, and as Joanna was mentioning, the informal operator is a major challenge for public transport systems operators in Greater Cairo, and to overhaul the entire sector is a major undertaking, and we recommend to do a pilot focusing on a corridor level landscape of these informal and formal public transport operators. And currently, the challenge is really over competition by informal operators and formal operators. Lack of exclusivity for operators for specific passenger markets. So really, buses and minivans are competing for passengers. That makes the market very difficult to regulate and perform effectively. And there's a large number of microbuses in an efficient method to carry large passenger flows, and these cause congestion and pollution while lowering the performance of public transport operations. Hence, motorization accelerates and so on and so forth that we see around the world. So the idea is to really rationalize routes and consolidate operators and make strategic improvements in the infrastructure so that the corridor-wide performance of public transport operations improve. And that involves making reforms to the institutional framework and reforming the operator, as in consolidating and making changes to the fare collection principles of fare setting, and so on and so forth to improve the performance. So that's idea number one. Number two is making improvements focusing on the safety of women on board, and these are from the operator side and from the passenger side too. So the proposal consists of several concrete actions. One is accreditation scheme for operators, like code of conduct, training program, and the like to improve the behavioral aspects of the operator, so that they can address any situations of concern safety for women. Anti-harassment public awareness campaigns, female security personnel are concrete actions that can be taken to improve the perceived perception of safety amongst the women, to improve their experiences on public transport. The next one is digitized bus operations, and believe it or not, it's difficult to get accurate and updated information about bus operations in a digital format like ArcGIS, and this digitization needs to be mainstreamed. The next one is e-ticketing for road-based public transport. So there's a big opportunity that is underway. So there's a bus rapid transit that are being constructed right now, and that can be an opportunity to overhaul the payment schemes and that involves making improvements, capacity building on the authorities side, and also making physical investments into the system of these payments using innovative methods like QR codes and so on and so forth that are becoming much more affordable around the world. And this will enable improving the governance of public transport and being able to compensate for necessary improvements, as in the cost recovery and so on and so forth. It will pave the way for private participation in the sector and so on and so forth. The next one is a major recommendation. It's a whole network of bus rapid transit beyond these projects that are currently implemented. So the study identified 10 corridors that are suitable for BRT network development. Ring Road is already underway, as I mentioned. There's another one that's being advanced, but there's a number of opportunities to improve the BRT network around the region. Integrated corridor management is really should be a collaboration between local authorities and the land transport regulatory authorities to make improvements so that public transport can become more competitive. I'm rushing through, but because of time, but the report, this is the last one, especially in new urban communities, the friendliness of the street infrastructure to pedestrians and bicycles, active and non-motorized transport modes are very limited. So there should be a targeted investment in making improvements so that accessibility to public transport services can be improved, while really sustainability of the overall transport system can be improved. So these are some of the investments that are identified. The next steps is that the MAPTIS is planned to complete very soon, and we plan to have a training program for LTRA engineers and also a dissemination event over the summer or later, depending on a variety of factors. But the bank team is currently in dialogue with the LTRA on possible ways to continue this collaboration and support, both technically and financially. So there's a number of initiatives that are underway, and both on the LTRA, the government side, and on the bank side. So we can, there's a number of opportunities to leverage. Just to highlight that the Egypt transport team is very active on the e-mobility front as well. So there's an energy transport collaboration study that's assessing the opportunities and challenges of electric mobility that focuses on public transport. The bank is also financing the demonstration of 100 electric buses to be operated by Cairo Transport Authority, and that's a collaboration of environment and a transport GP team. The next agenda that I would like to highlight is a really sector digital transformation agenda, the MAPTIS is going to explore this aspect before it completes. But so this is what's happening, and I very much look forward to being able to explore opportunities to really collaborate with the Korean expertise. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Over from my side.
Taito, thank you so much. Excellent presentation on the update on the MATIS project. Also, when I visited Cairo a few years ago, I saw strong similarity between Cairo and then Seoul in 1980s, just starting the massive public transportation reform in Seoul. I think it seems to be, we can get some lessons from Seoul's experience, as well as also other global experiences. I think Daito's presentation is quite extensive, and I don't think any clarification, but also you can discuss during panel discussions.